You ain't hard, bro. You're just hurt. You're not hard. You're just hurt. I remember the first time my mentor told me that. I was pissed, right? I was in my early 20s. And in my mind was, I don't feel any pain, right? I was in that phase where I have gone through so many things in life that I carried this chip on my shoulder, right? And when my mentor told me, you ain't hard, you're just hurt, nonchalant, it took me for a trip, right? But see, the importance of having a mentor that you respect, this mentor of mine who ended up becoming a mentor, maybe didn't realize it at the time, but he was giving me so much wisdom that he has become someone that has given me the most amount of knowledge, I would say probably in my whole life. But see, this mentor did several years in prison. California CDC came out with proof that he was active, that he took care of business. So this wasn't a person that I could just flat shot on and just speak to a certain way, because I knew that it was going to turn into something more than that. It's going to eventually turn to an altercation. Some of you know there's key words, there's certain things that you can't call a man, especially when you're institutionalized, because it automatically is on site. It becomes an altercation. There is no other option, right? But I remember him telling me this. And years later, as I start to process, it allows you to be able to look into a man's eyes and be able to see who's going through pain and who's truly evil. A lot of us as men, we carry a lot of burden. We carry a lot of pain. And sometimes what we're looking for is someone to flash out on, because we no longer want to feel that pain. We want to put that on somebody else, right? Excuse me. So we want to offload, and what we really want is someone to justify the means for us to be able to offload that on them, right? This brought me to a situation I had in Clarksville, Tennessee, all right, when I was living there. I was in the sauna at the gym, and I remember this guy walks in. This guy was probably 6'3", 6'4", 230, 240, jacked, like super lean. Just one of them big motherfuckers, all right? Now, I don't know about you, but I don't keep my back to, if I go to a restaurant, I don't keep my back to the door. As soon as I walk in somewhere, I'm always looking at, especially if I go to a bar or something like that with a lot of people, I'm looking at like, okay, who's the biggest threat? And, where's the exit route? And, if something goes down, what's going to happen, right? Some of you probably do the same thing. So this guy walks in, and he's the type of guy where you're like, okay, I'm starting to analyze body language, whatever, right? This guy walks in, all of a sudden he just starts screaming inside the sauna, right? Sauna's not that big. There's probably about 5 people in there, and 7 total with all of us. And this guy's basically in a way just like preaching, like Southern preaching, right? Like, but screaming, and it's like echoing. Eventually people start leaving the sauna, all right? Because it's just completely out of pocket. So everybody leaves. Now it's just me and him. And this guy's continuing to scream. And for me, it's like, man, it's only me and you at this point. So obviously you're doing it on purpose, right? And it comes to a point as a man, you just got to call shit out, right? Even if it doesn't work your way, even if it doesn't go your way, even if you got to take an L, but you got to have some honor and stand on something, right? So this guy keeps screaming, and then I'm like, hey, what's the point of that? And then I could tell he got angry, like, what? I'm like, bro, what's the point of that? Everybody just left. You know what you're doing, like, what's the point of it? And he keeps like getting loud, like, well, I'm not saying nothing wrong. All I'm saying is, Jesus is this is just that. I'm like, yeah, but you're doing it in a way that you're like, you're making everybody else not want to be in here. Like, what's the point of that? Long story short, I was able to look into this man's eyes, and I was able to see that he was going through pain. I could see it in his eyes. I could tell, you could see the nobleness in the man, but you could see the pain in his eyes, right? So essentially what I told him was like, hey man, I know you're going through some pain. I know that look. Completely disarmed him. He just started shaking his head, and I'm like, hey man, you going through something? He's like, man, I just got out of prison. I just did several years. I lost everything. I lost my family. Nothing's going my way. I'm like, man, I could feel that. I can see how a man could feel broken and destroyed when his key purpose in this life is to provide, and he has lost all of that, right? Society will reject you once you are a felon. My mentor was a felon, and he struggled so much to just be able to get back on his feet. All right. And as much as I wanted to help him, it was so difficult because there was only so much that I could do, because society will literally outcast you because of that felony. So long story short, we start talking, and essentially what he told me is like, nothing's going my way. Basically, I'm looking for someone to test me because I don't care if I go back. I was doing better in there. So I just need someone to give me a reason for me to be able to hurt them because I'm in so much pain, right? So the key message is, sometimes there's people out there, they're walking with a chip on their shoulder. I've caught myself doing it. I've been guilty of waiting for someone to test me so I could offload whatever pain that I was going through, especially in my early 20s, where again, you carry this chip on your shoulder and you feel like you got something to prove. But there are some people that are just going through pain. They're going through something. And by just certain keywords, disarm them. And all they need is someone to be able to speak to and be able to vent. Because as a man, sometimes we don't have anyone to speak to. We got to go through challenges by ourselves. A lot of the times we feel like it makes us weak if we're going through something, not realizing that one conversation could literally be the gateway to somebody being able to help you or giving you a job or seeing like, okay, this person is a good person. I'm going to refer them to somebody else, right? So some people, again, you might be looking at this right now and you got to remind yourself, like, are you really hurt? Are you really hard? Or are you just hurt? And there's something that you got to internalize, analyze, and be able to fix within yourself. All right. Because it's nobody else's fault. All right. And we're all guilty. I've done it myself. All right. Taking out my frustration on other people when I should have dissected that myself, worked on that myself, and removed myself, which I tend to do that more. If I'm going through a hard time, I just remove myself. Let me go to the gym. Let me go for a walk. Let me go for a ride. I'll go for, an hour trip, 2-hour trip, get my thoughts together, because it's nobody else's fault, whatever you're going through. All right. So just keep that in mind. If this was helpful, hit like, hit comment. You agree, you disagree, situations that you've been through, all of that obviously helps the algorithm. It helps us engage, and it helps us to continue to grow this community. Other than that, hit subscribe, and then I'll catch you guys on the next one. Don't forget, you're a chosen one. Peace.